Hello everyone, this is POL 51. This is week 2 for us. So last week we did basically chapter 1 of the Cruz textbook, and I asked you to watch this video by Michelle Obama, right? Her speech at the Democratic Convention. Remember also that I did revise the syllabus, and I put an announcement as well in relation to the discussion board interaction. Remember that this is an essential moment of what you had to do, right? I mean, in addition to writing your discussion board entry and the journal entry as well, also do interact with at least one more person. Okay, write something and. Remember that although I give a letter grade for the journal entry and then the final reflective essay at the end of the semester, but I don't give a letter grade for the discussion board entries. Still, I make a note of it. Everything is there on Blackboard, and it does constitute, right? It makes up the 30%, okay, of your total grade. All right, so in any case, today we are doing, then next time we'll go back to the textbook. No, actually, next time, John Locke. Week 4, we are going back to the textbook. But for today, I want to focus on the text, the short text that you have on ideologies, political ideology, and also the reading of a few chapters by Hobbes, Leviathan, his book. Next time we do John Locke. Actually, John Locke is more traditionally associated with American ideology, the drafting of the founding documents of this country, the Declaration, the Constitution that we will see later in the semester. There is often an association made between those documents and the philosophy of John Locke, a British philosopher of the 17th century. Less so with Hobbes. Hobbes is also a British philosopher of the 17th century, but I believe that the philosophy of Hobbes, very conservative, differently from to an extent that of Locke, right, and even reactionary, is important, right, in politics today, throughout history, the politics of this country, and perhaps especially today with the increasing polarization between two at least ideologies, right? Whatever people understand as the progressive and the conservative ideologies, but there are, it's more nuanced than that. We will talk about this in a moment. In any case, I believe that Hobbes is important to understand the state today, not only in the American context in general. And I ask you to read only, a few chapters from chapter 13 to chapter 16 of Leviathan, right? You have it in your material, and focus especially on chapter 13. And I say a few words, I don't want this to be too long. I say a few words about chapter 13, where you have precisely this idea of the state of nature, which we will find again in John Locke next time. And the idea in Hobbes, I'm speaking about Thomas Hobbes now, by the title of chapter 13 is of the natural condition of mankind as concerning their felicity, which is happiness, right, and misery. But in any case, this natural condition of mankind is the state of nature, so-called. It's, a concept in political philosophy used then by John Locke as well, by other philosophers. Very popular, very common concept in the 17th and 18th centuries, right? So, and actually, Thomas Hobbes himself begins this chapter with the idea of equality, the fact that there is equality to begin with, which is something that we also find right in the Declaration, all men are created equal and so on. So, and this was a very popular idea. So, I mean, for Hobbes, the idea is that precisely because of this equality that we have at the beginning, uh, you know, uh, debatable concept. I speak more about this in my political philosophy class, Philosophy 67. But in any case, you can think about that. Is equality really something that we have at the beginning, or if anything, it is something that should be brought about by political, social institutions, actions, and so on and so forth? But in any case, because of this initial equality, Hobbes says, then we have from there we have a diffidence. Diffidence is the opposite of confidence. Confidence is trust. Diffidence is when people don't trust one another, and because of this diffidence, there is then war. The state of nature, I had to be very sketchy and schematic, is, Hobbes says, a state of war over everybody against everybody. It is a state, right? The state of nature is a state in which life is impossible, unsustainable. Okay, so there is in Hobbes this, metaphorically speaking, right? I use this metaphor, this crossing over a bridge, this going from the state of nature to the state of political society, the constitution of the state, the emergence of the political state, the emergence of the law, the emergence of power, political power. What for Hobbes is sovereign power. Okay, sovereignty, check this word, and it's a very important concept. Okay, so but in any case, how does this happen? It happens because people, and this is maybe flawed in the argument that Hobbes makes, but that's the argument. This is a fictional, a hypothetical state of nature, right? Although then he says, and that is a historical blunder, that it is found, you find that on page 77, among the so-called, he says, in quote, the savage people of America, the Native Americans. So this is a big historical problem in Hobbes, and right. So I mean, think about that. But he says otherwise, it is a hypothetical state of nature in which life is impossible because no one is going to start anything, any business, any activity, because anything can be taken away from them because people have the right to anything. There is no just or unjust, there is no right or wrong in the state of nature. So he says at one point people decide to come together, agree, and say, let's, stop this war of everyone against everyone, and we can do that by giving our rights, transferring, right, our rights, and that is to say our power, our freedom, to one person or a group of people, the sovereign power. This person or these people, let's say one person for simplicity sake, is going to make the law, right? And then we have to comply. I mean, everybody has to comply because we have given up, transferred our rights in a voluntary way. Okay, so then there is the establishment of this coercive power that especially today in the age of control and digital control, the society of control, I mean, Hobbes comes again very handy because it helps us understand, analyze the situation that we are living in. In any case, I leave this to you, see what you make of Hobbes in relation to again, focus on chapter 13, although read also 14, 15, and so on. I mean, actually, the end of chapter 13, the last page is very interesting. There is one section, one passage in which you see that he says, I'm reading this, and then I move to ideology. To this war over every man against every man, right? I'm reading. This also is consequent that nothing can be unjust, meaning anything goes. People can do as they please. Okay, the notions of right and wrong, justice and injustice have there no place where there is no common power, which is the state, the government, the law, there is precisely no law. Where there is no law, there is no injustice, meaning, again, he doesn't say there is no justice, no injustice, again, meaning that people can do it precisely as they please. This is very interesting because, on the one hand, you see that Hobbes is afraid, really. It's a matter of fear, right? Because he says people have many desires, they also desire security and peace. And it is because of this that they establish, right, the state establish, or rather, they give their rights to one person or a group of people to make the state to establish political power and the law. But at the same time, there is this idea that the state of nature is precisely similar to what many people who speak about small government and so on and so forth in the reactionary, right, um, type of ideology, they, in a sense, they go back to that idea, that everybody should be, the libertarian ideology that we will see, everybody should be free to do as they please, right? I mean, think about the question of wearing and not wearing a face mask today. How many people say, no, I don't want to wear the mask because that, goes against my freedom, takes my freedom away, and so on and so forth, okay? So in any case, read also ideology and also watch for today the video, right, the speech at the Democratic Convention given by Bernie Sanders, okay, who actually, again, maybe I will make a reference to him again. He's one of the institutional politicians in the U.S. who at times is, called a socialist. We will see the ideology also of socialism and so on. All this is debatable. Also remember that because this is the question of political ideology is very important, and today is very central because of the polarization, which is also brought about by, especially now, right, after the killing of George Floyd by the police, right? I mean, there is this increasing polarization, including the fact that President Trump usually speaks about, and against. He often attacks the anarchists and Marxists and so on and so forth, right? So there is this increasing polarization. So this is a question. It's not simply the progressive versus the conservative, but it is a question that is becoming really important today. And even when you do your discussion board entry and interaction, especially, make sure that, because this is a topic about which people have different, at times very different opinions, about which people at times feel very strongly, okay? So it is okay to disagree. All right. So if you interact with someone, you have different views. You can disagree in a civil, polite way. Civility is a very important concept. We saw that civic engagement last time, and civility is, if anything, there is a philosopher who says that civility is anti-violence, the opposite of violence, and because we live in a violent time today, it is important to keep that in mind, okay, to be always engaging in ways that, enhance civility. So, in any case, watch the video, react to the video by Bernie Sanders. We saw Michelle Obama's speech last time, Bernie Sanders today, Barack Obama's next time. Then we will see also, you'll watch the video, the speech by Trump at the convention, and also his acceptance speech. Okay, so in any case, ideologies. The text that I gave you, that I asked you to read, is very schematic, but I did that on purpose. Okay, because I believe, just to give you a sense, right? I mean, this text says, and I highlighted some sections, some passages. In the United States, most citizens consider themselves, I'm reading, liberal, moderate, or conservative. In other countries, you may find a majority of people who identify as socialists, Marxists, or even anarchists, right? But again, these words are coming back in important ways today because, as I said, even the president, even President Trump, often uses these words in whatever way. I mean, I don't know what his, understanding of these ideologies might be, but in any case, uses them. These words in this modality that we are in now of increasing polarization, right? Again, especially after the violence that erupted after, like I said, the protests on the one hand, but all the other type of violence after the killing of George Floyd. Okay, so in any case, consider these ideologies. The first one that you're given in this text is that of liberalism, which is called left, right? And I read a few words. Liberalism denounces economic and social inequality. I will then later also maybe put on Blackboard two more videos. One, about the question of not liberalism, but actually democratic socialism that you can watch, right, a clip, an interview with Cornel West, an important philosopher in the US today. And then also maybe another video as well, just a short video so that you can understand the question of ideologies as well, okay? Even conservative ideology. The second ideology given in this text is conservative, precisely right, where you have a preference for the existing order of society. This is what Hobbes is speaking about, right? But also conservatives want to enhance individual liberty, as I was saying before, in what might be a kind of a contradiction. And then there is also this emphasis on they base their claims on the teachings of religion and traditional morality. Think about this in relation to issues such as abortion and so on and so forth. Okay, and but in any case, the question then of understanding society, understanding history. The other clip that that I will probably put on Blackboard is precisely by President Trump speaking about the teaching of history and attacking a very important U.S. historian, Howard Zinn, who wrote a book called a People's History of the United States, and I will probably in a few weeks ask you to, as an optional reading, to read one chapter from that book as well. But in any case, then you had the moderates, middle, right, a mix of both liberal and conservative ideologies, and then other political ideologies, communism, socialism, National Socialism, which is Nazism, right? And that, for example, about this, the text says that what you find in National Socialism is the idea of the subordination of the individual to the state and strict obedience to leaders. So, that's what usually people call totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is actually was as a word, as a concept, came into existence during the fascist period in Italy, the fascist regime. That was the self-description of the fascist regime as a totalitarian regime. Okay, but today it's used more broadly. In a more widespread way. So then you have precisely fascism. That's the other ideology which celebrates masculinity, youth, mystical unity, the power of violence. Usually, fascism espouses, right? The text says open male supremacy. That's another important ideology today. You can consider that, right? Male supremacy, and actually also white supremacy is a very important ideological moment at this time, right, in this country, but also historically, right? So think about that as well. And then anarchism, which the text says is the most anti-authoritarian, against authority of all political ideologies. Okay, then you had the ideology of libertarianism, which is a strange, right, ideology, which is usually conservative, although there are elements of anarchist thinking as well. That libertarians believe that any legitimate government should be small, precisely so. Paradoxically, it goes against perhaps Hobbes and the more conservative type of philosophy thinking in terms of politics. And then the last one is Marxism. Above you have communism, then Marxism, right, which is here given as an ideology. And of course, there is so much confusion about this. I can't go into that now, but whatever we understand as communist regime, think about that today. I don't know, China and North Korea and so on. Then when if you study Marx, carefully or even not carefully, just read Marx, you see that his philosophy has nothing to do with that, or even with, say, the Soviet Union, and people today speak of a different, if you will, type of ideology or system, Sovietism, different from Marxism or communism, right? In any case, there are many interesting points that you can think about in this context. You write then your again a discussion board entry. Let me remind you of that as well, right? The discussion board entry for today should be precisely a reaction to Bernie Sanders' speech at the Democratic Convention, but as I said, I will also add, not on the discussion board section of Blackboard, but under perhaps material, lectures, videos, I will add a clip by, again, I said Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West, an important philosopher today, and a clip by President Trump speaking, just a few a minute, just a short segment in which he speaks about the question of the proper and, according to him, improper way of teaching history, right? And he refers to another ideology, that of patriotism, right? So, but in any case, then you see what you can make of it in the journal, right? Because again, the discussion board entry will be a reaction to Bernie Sanders' speech. I imagine all of you know who Bernie Sanders is, right? And he was a candidate as well, right, for the presidential election before Biden then was, selected as the candidate, right? And then interacts at least with one more person, okay? And then, in the discussion board forum, and then the journal for this week, and I see that not many people had done the journal for the first week. You should, right? You must actually do it, okay? So the journal for last week was on chapter 1 of the textbook, so questions of civic engagement and so on. And the journal for this week is right. I say choose either option this time. Okay, there are two options. You can write on one or the other. Again, in the order of 100, 200 words minimum. Okay, one is on Hobbes, and I'm sorry, it's from chapter 13 to 16, especially chapter 13. I will edit the mistake because right now it says 15. And then also the other option, the first option would be, a discussion of some of the ideologies in this short text. Okay, discuss the various ideologies. You don't have to discuss all of them. You can and say which, if any, you find more compelling or interesting and why. Okay, so you can bring this into your discussion board entry as well. Okay, the question of ideology. Okay, so I hope that this was clear. Again, next time we do John Locke and then we go back to the textbook. As again, make sure that you do the work, discussion board entry, journal entry, interact also with others when you do the discussion board entry, at least with one more person. And then, again, if you have questions, then just contact me, okay? Let me know, okay? Thank you.